Hi, the Vulcan is getting there, but the more I did on this, the more I would love to know how people that have built this actually hassled through it. For instance, this fin, which I was saying just doesn't fit into that slot in there. The amount that I needed to thin it down by was beyond what I think any beginner modeler would ever do. Certainly not kids. I had to take more than 0.5 millimeter off each side. I sort of tapered it down. I filed it, and eventually I've got it on. I think that's 90, but it's good enough for this model anyway, and I'm absolutely giving up on that. Don't care. We're going to be looking at this model from the front, and even with this bit of stuff I spoke about where it's not aligning properly, tough luck. This is on, the tail piece is on, the tail cone, and I don't think I'm going to stick any of the little extra bits on, just the canopy is going to go on. I'm busy masking that. Oh, I did fill that, one huge amount of filler, both sides. Now I just wanted to mention, I put a little bit in there just to try and clean that up. So despite the whole aeroplane being very low quality, I did decide to just practice my filling on that area, much as I don't like filling. It at least gives a little bit of a feeling of reward when you've got a very nice smooth curvature. And since I did actually try and get a good joint there, I'd like to see how that works out. Apart from being somewhat appalled by the kit itself, but loving the aircraft, I also rate my own build quality on this one as pretty low. Probably one of my worst builds. Definitely, I mean, I could do a whole lot better in hindsight. And you know, when you build a model and it's really, really a bit of a disaster, you feel like building it again and doing better. I actually do think I would like the new Vulcan now. I'll have a look and see if I can find one going at a good price. It is a very nice aeroplane, but just I would not build this kit again. Now, related to this filler, and I've just put it on, I can just see it actually sinking in there on that join line, so I hope I've got it thick enough. That's one of the annoyances, is that you have to fill, then sand, then fill again. So it just totally slows down your process. That window, by the way, got lost somewhere. I don't recall seeing that ever. Oh, I got these other doors on. They were not a good fit at all. So that's another area where now I don't know if all Matchbox kits were like that, but that Canberra certainly had a very, very nice fit on the closed doors, and Airfix not good at all. I think in general Airfix doesn't plan very well for closed door aircraft, undercarriage up aircraft, and that counted for everything. That big one, all of the small doors. That one, that little pilot hatch was okay, surprisingly. It's, you know, they're just not putting in the effort. This is now old days Airfix, of course. I don't know about modern day. My filler my Tamiya filler is a little bit thick now. I bought a new one and it was very thin. I was actually rather surprised, and now after a year or so, it's probably just as it should be, and gradually it starts drying out, even though the cap is on. Once I have, and I use this blade, I put that into the, I squeeze a bit from the Tamiya thing onto there, and I sort of try and paste this on in a sequential fashion so that it's almost at that point. Spatula it on, forcing it in, and that's a little bit of an art in itself, because it dries and you can rub it up again. So you sort of move over it, get it all done, wait a little bit, and then I use either that or that. And if you don't have any of these, very handy to have a couple of thicknesses of these. And this I think I got either out of hard drives or a printer or something, that it sort of looks like the width of an old floppy drive or something. These various pretty good steel chromed rods that I use for all sorts of things, often paint and so on. So starting with the thick one, I then sort of roll this filler, forcing it into the recess, better than maybe when you spatula it on, and also trying to even out so that when you sand it, you don't have as many high patches and low patches. It sort of gets you down to an even sanding. So sometimes I just rub it like that, or I'd roll it. And if it's a bit too wet, it's going to start coming off there. And you can use that one as well, very nice and smooth. But the pressure for this one can sort of leave you with imprints. So that thicker one is pretty good. So that's what I did there. I'll have to wait an hour or so. It does, of course, eat your aluminium away on this and transfers you a bit of an aluminium layer, but that doesn't matter. The handle that I use is the X-Acto, is it? Yes. An X-Acto handle. I've got two of these and the smaller one. And the blade that I put in is always the scalpel blades. I don't use X-Acto at all anymore. And in fact, I haven't for as far back as I can remember. So that's my standard blade at the moment, which I can't remember what the number is and I can't see it on here. But I've got packs and packs and packs of them, old medical stock that was sold off at a stage. Now it does sort of leave you with the ability to sort of shunt it off center. So you position at the back, position it at the end most commonly. And the other thing that this is very handy for, which I've just been doing on this body, is I did decide to actually remove that little trunk door. And for that, my most common scribing method is with the back of the scalpel blade. So that uses that sort of tiny triangular shape there. Even though you get Tamiya scribers, I haven't used a Tamiya scriber yet. But so I would start off. It depends if there's any line on the inside to work with, but this has got stuff on the outside. I will often scribe on the inside first, or start off by ruling a line on the inside. But this one it has that as a good guideline, and it has that line, and it has that line. And I have scribed 95% through, so I thought I'd show you. And the method that I'm using there, and it is probably the most dangerous thing that I do in all of modeling. Using the back of that, bracing it with my finger, and I often put so much pressure that I snap it off right there, because you can see these blades have only got the sort of the two bits there, so I often snap them off right there. I'm putting a lot of pressure there and making sure that I scribe in such a way. I'll just put that in there. And I'm bracing it, and I'm scribing downwards over and over and over, gradually eating into that, and on the side there, scribing. And when you either also break through, but I want to show you on the inside there. Can you see the whitish lines? So you see that whitish line is where the plastic is now virtually through. So there. I think you can see that okay. So that is very close to being through. Scribing with the back of the blade, very nice, and it eats a very narrow furrow into there. Cutting through on your last bit is highly, highly dangerous, and I've cut myself like that before, because at this point the likelihood that you go through is extremely great. Go through or slip. So you do need to practice all of the safe procedures by not having a body part in the way of a sliding blade, not having a finger on the inside and pushing through, that sort of thing. So I try and scribe till it's through, which I will do on this one, and I won't throw away that door. So there's sort of two types of scribing. One where you're wanting to remove the plastic and you don't mind by eating a little bit this way and that way so that you can have a nice clean joint. In this case, I want to retain everything and scribe away as little as possible, and luckily this trunk lid is the type of item that would work for this. It's not always the case, which means that I can hinge it afterwards, although I'm planning on bulging out a piece of the engine there. That's I want the back view of this thing to show that there's a huge engine inside there, but maybe not throwing away the trunk. So I'm still thinking about how to deal with that part of it. We'll see. Or I'll have the trunk sort of semi-lifted upwards. We'll see what I do. Cutting off these front sections, I probably just use the razor saw, the modeling saw, because I wasn't specifically retaining as much plastic as possible. I was just getting rid of that front end. So yes, scribing is a delicate process using a lot of force, where you do stand the chance of damaging your model, and I have slipped a little bit here, but you would never notice it because the slip line is almost still within a recess line, and even while I'm scribing down, you can put a finger stop there, because you're on the back of the blade there. So you can put a finger stop so that as you reach the end of that little curvature, and your blade of course wants to slide off, it just stops right on your finger there. So I'm busy with that. Oh, I wanted to ask, yesterday when I was speaking about the cruise missiles, for those of you that know slightly more than me, these cruise missiles would be in the I don't know what mode you would call them, but non-ready to launch mode, which means I believe the wings are recessed inside the body, and that there's nothing more that gets attached onto these. So these two halves for each cruise missile is what it looks like on the aircraft. Is that correct? One of you said use them on the B-52. I do have a B-52, and it's built, and it's been built since 1990s, somewhere, 95 maybe. But unpainted. It hasn't got to the paint stage yet. So that is a possibility, but just tell me if that is the correct look for this particular cruise missile, which I assume... Is this even still a in-use cruise missile? I'll have to research a little bit. I don't research anything on that. Now, I was speaking about Shackleton decals at a stage, so I just want to show you what I've got here. Now, this is Frog Shackleton, Revell Shackleton, and the South African decals. So, to start with, these are two almost the same sets. This one provided by Revell, and that one is Frog. So this has got FX707, and this is FX704L. So somewhat close, but they have actually changed it. Now this is not bad, and I was pondering using this, and I did put this in a comment, that this has got hairline cracks, which I don't know if you can just make out the cracks in the vertical of these long yellow decals. So you'll see cracks all throughout that, as well as on there. Just get this light properly in the red there. So I don't know how usable any remaining stuff is on here, but certainly all of the yellow walkway markings are not going to be used. Now, okay, next up, compare the South African decals on these two. This one is Model Craft, which is also the frog one, just a different release of the decals, different boxing. Now you'll notice that is not very centered there. The South African decals are not bad. All of the yellow is good on this, so that is a good usable set, I think. It does look very thin. The actual carrier film looks very, very thin. So that will be left over. That's I don't know how usable that is. Maybe a quarter of that would be usable, but I'd say that's... I'm not throwing it away, but it's probably not a usable set. This is what I use for all of my South African decals. So that's sort of the very good castle insignia and so on. Way better than everyone else produces them. So even if I did the South African set off here, I wouldn't use the castles, but I would use probably the rest of it. These are quite off center. These are ever so slightly off center, just enough to hurt the eye. These all look fine. And again, the walkway decals are okay. And then this old set, which I don't know what this is even. It is Shackleton, but it looks larger. Well, I don't know. Now this is a one-piece decal, so you need to, there's no edging around anything. So I don't know if this was some aftermarket thing at some stage, and it's not great, but it's something. It's got some usable bits, but I have no idea what that came out of. So this Revell one is the good stuff for the British one that I want to do. So one of mine will be British. Now just to put you in the picture again, I've got one Shackleton 90% built. I've got another Shackleton 50% built. That's the one that the fuselage hasn't been done yet. And then I've got a new Shackleton, which I put somewhere, can't remember where I put that now. Then the new FX Shackleton, which isn't the one that South Africa used, so that one I would put into British markings, or even Canadian. So I probably would only use some of the yellow stuff off there on the South African one, use the South African decals from that, use this for the British one, and have some left over. But I think, was it Brian? Brian was looking for decals, and Brian, were you in England? Now I'm sure that there would be so many of these kits, both frog and Revell, but I wouldn't grab a frog one. The likelihood of having damage on or somewhat unusable decals in a frog kit, but I mean, it's something. You could put out feelers there, or if you really need, I can send you, but sending stuff halfway around the world when you possibly could find locally. Anyway, I'm just showing you what I've got. So I will be using much of that. The new Airfix Shackleton has got its own nice decal set, so this only needs to supply 2 really. However, I should say that at a stage I thought the Shackletons were a little bit hard to come by, and I actually have 4 kits, 4 of the old frogs, and I'm not going to be building the other 2, but this is all the decals. So one of them came without decals, and possibly the one had these decals actually. So there are another 2 kits that I'm probably going to sell off, but they're both without decals. So this is what I have, and that explains what I'm going to be using. What else can I speak about? Oh, I did obtain this at a club meeting, so the Matchbox Lysander. I have built one before, at a stage when I was sort of starting to use paints. So I would have built this around 1982, 83-ish. My build probably wasn't great. So this is a very nice, completely sealed one. Of course, I prefer the old Matchbox plastic colors, but this is fine. This is still perfect. And as you know, the Lysander is one of my favorite aircraft shapes. So not planned for this year, but a very nice model to have. Another one that I have in this same range, in its original Matchbox boxing, is the 132nd Matchbox Puma helicopter. Now that would be a very nice build, but that's definitely not fast. Probably one of the more complicated in how many things there are in that box. It is a huge lot of stuff, but a very nice helicopter. So that'll be an interesting project in the future. Okay, I'm going to get to a bit of sanding on this. I was hoping to paint. I'd like to paint today and just get this thing over with. Now, if I used Humbrol tins, this area would be about 1 entire tin. And the white would take a while to dry. So I'm thinking of using these. I've got a number of the acrylics, and it just goes on somewhat easily, dries fast, and if I have it, why not use it? So I don't generally use acrylics. My preference is probably 80 to 90% always for an oil-based enamel, and acrylics for some specific reason when I'm not going to be using that enamel. One of the reasons is that I'm not too fussed about this aeroplane. It's going to hang up here and that'll be it forever. This acrylic paint is not as robust. I'm sure I'll get argument about that. I'm not going to put on a base coat, which means we'll take what we get on the coverage of the white. This is a flat white. I'll just have a look inside, but if I do this flat and paint it with the floor wax, that's easy. I've got tons of the floor wax, that acrylic clear coating. So since I have 2 of these and I'm not likely to paint anything with flat white ever, I might as well actually use it on here. The advantage of the flat is it'll cover it better, but it won't take decals. I did just find I have one of these clears. I do like the clears, and since I am doing the motorbikes and cars, some of the clears will come in handy. So I think once I've finished sanding this, which is a bit of a job, I can get to painting just now. Now, how am I going to hold this while painting? This aeroplane is so heavy that putting it on a rod is just, I mean, it would have to be such a thick dowel. Actually, come to think of it, I probably shouldn't have put that little what's that, a radome or something, and I shouldn't have put that in the end. However, this tail piece is not the strongest onto the main body, so having all of the aircraft's weight being braced via this tail cone would have probably broken it off.